Okay, so for Pilates, feel free to mute yourself and play music. I don't play music here so that you can hear my voice clearly and for cueing purposes. But for at home, if you want to play some sort of music, any kind of music, you can. Um, Feel free to do that. I'd have some water around. Stop and take water breaks anytime. This is going to be a 50-minute class, 50. And I pretty much just like keep moving throughout the whole class. So it's kind of a nice flow from one movement to the other. I offer modifications for every exercise. So feel free to, if you've been doing Pilates before, to just do what works for your body. General things for Pilates is if your neck is feeling fatigued, just keep your head and shoulders down. If you want to lift your head, neck, and shoulder blades up for a little bit more abdominal work, you can, but you can always keep your head down. And then if you have any lower back issues, you can keep your knees bent. So if you fully lengthen your legs, it always makes the exercise a little bit harder as well. So feel free to keep your knees bent. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. If you sit on the front half of your mat, you're going to inhale through the nose, exhale out through the mouth. Pilates is all about the breath. Inhaling through the nose, and again, exhaling out through pursed lips. So we'll be targeting our core muscles, which are any muscles that attach to the pelvis and the spine. So that's a lot of muscles. It's not just the abs. It's not just the lower back. It's also muscles around your butt, your pelvis, hamstrings, inner and outer thigh. So a couple more breaths sitting in a nice position. And if you can, inhale to feel the length through the top of your head. And on the exhale, you can relax a little, rounding the spine. Inhale, feel that length once again through the top of the head. And exhale, relax. Usually we exhale for the exertion. This is a little bit different here. Inhale, lengthen, and exhale, round. One more time. Inhale, lift that chest. And then exhale, we're gonna roll down very, very slowly. Your feet are hip distance apart, and we're now on the mats. So there are two positions of our lower back. One is imprinted, where I basically can't get my hand underneath my lower back because there's no space. And then neutral, where I can get most of my hand into there. So we want to be in imprint. So draw those abs down and in. Let it sink down towards the spine. Let the lower back make contact with the mats. From here, we're going to do a little march. So keep the abdominals engaged. Exhale to lift one leg to tabletop position. So that's the knee over the hip, knees at 90 degrees, shin parallel to the floor. So some people call this marching abs. So like horizontal and marching. And now what we're going to do is we're going to lift both legs tabletop. So now our base position is legs lifted, and we're going to do an alternating toe tap. But the alternating toe tap looks very similar to the march, obviously, but the base position is different. For the march, the feet are starting on the floor, and for here, we are starting lifted, and we're lowering that leg. Exhale to lower, reinforce the imprints. Inhale to lift. We're trying to keep the knees at 90 degrees. Try to have your head, neck, and spine in alignment as much as you can. You're going to be predominantly staring at the ceiling. You don't really need the lights on so that you're not staring, blinding yourself with light. So I have all my lights on so that you can see me clearly, but feel free to dim those lights at your place. Exhale, lower. And now we're going to do it with both legs. And if you feel yourself losing that imprint, you don't have to take the legs all the way to the floor. So you can go partway down, see how that feels. And if you can take all 10 toes down to the floor without losing the imprint, then feel free to take those toes all the way to the floor. Exhale, lower. Anytime we use both legs compared to one leg, it is always more challenging. Exhale, lower. Inhale, lift. Exhale. Inhale. Good. Last one. Lift up. And now release those heels to the butt. So now our knees are much less than 90 degrees. But by placing our feet hip distance apart on the floor from that position, we get our feet in generally the right position for our hip bridge. So we roll those hips up one vertebra at a time, aiming for a straight line from shoulder, hips through knees. Inhale to the top. Exhale, slowly inch your way down, vertebra by vertebra, until your tailbone's on the floor. Inhale, roll it back up. Lift from your tailbone, roll up, reach those knees away from your shoulders. Inhale and exhale. You're constantly breathing. You're either inhaling or exhaling. There really isn't a moment in time in Pilates that we hold our breath. Inhale and exhale. As you press through those heels, you're really squeezing your butt, but you're also drawing your abs down. The next exercise is our ab prep, or known as the crunch. So I'm going to nod my chin, look toward my knees, and then reach with my arms toward the toes, and my abdominals help pull my shoulder blades off the floor. The first movement you want to do when doing a crunch is to nod the chin. You don't want to look at the ceiling. You want to nod the chin and look toward your knees so that you protect your neck. The goal of Pilates isn't to strain the neck. You do feel more work in the abdominals every time you lift the head, neck, and shoulders. And so that's why we do it. But if you really do have a lot of strain in the neck, you can put hands behind and support the neck like this. But just take all the weight of your head into the hands. You're not pulling on your head, but there's no pulling. You're just supporting. And so we're going to do hundreds next. Hundreds is when you take the arms and you pump it 100 times. It is all about endurance. So as we pump the arms for 100 times, we are going to have the head, neck, and shoulders lifted, and we're going to have the leg lifted. However, you can do it like this, where your feet are on the ground. You can do it like this, where there's one hand behind the head for 50, and then the other hand behind the head for 50. All right? So there's a lot of options. You can also do hundreds with your legs in tabletop, straight vertical, or straight diagonal. And you can pick and go from one leg position to the next. So I'm actually going to start in tabletop, and I'm going to finish with my legs on the diagonal. Go ahead and pick your position. If you need a hand behind the head, go ahead and put it there. Here we go. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 10. Inhale. Exhale. 20. Inhale. Exhale. 30. Keep your eyes on your knees. Exhale. 40. Inhale. I'm straightening my legs. Exhale. 50. Inhale. Exhale. 60. Inhale. Exhale. On to 70. I'm lowering my legs. Inhale. A little bit more challenge to the imprint. Exhale. 80. Inhale. Exhale. 90. Inhale. And exhale. And there's your 100. You could have done it with the hand behind the head. Besides our abdominals, which is what we mostly work on, we also have our lower back muscles. And so we do that by being on our stomach. The best way to warm up your spine is to use your forearms for assistance, to gently press into that floor and give that upper body some support. So as I lift my chest and the top part of my rib cage, I'm going to keep a slight nod of the chin, right? Because I don't want to hyperextend my neck. Let's add the breath. Inhale to lift the rib cage. Head, neck, and chest all move together as one unit. Exhale to lower. Inhale, lift. Feel that rib cage expand. Exhale, lower. Now, I haven't talked about the legs yet, but you want the tops of the feet on the mat, legs apart, and have the legs engaged. So even though we're not lifting the legs, you do want to have strength going through to the end of the toes. Now, if you want to keep your forearms right there for the support, keep it there. Or you can take those hands away and reach toward the toes. Might give you a little bit more lift of the chest, a little bit more squeezing of the shoulder blades towards each other. Really open up that chest. This is a great exercise for your postural muscles. So anytime we slouch, we're doing the opposite of this movement. We slouch forward, we round forward, creating a C curve. And this spine extension is the opposite of that C curve. Inhale, actively reach, exhale. One more time, inhale and exhale. Take those hands under your shoulder, press yourself up. So we don't do as much spine work as we do ab work in Pilates class. It's important to do both, but we also want to recognize that your abs are a lot stronger than your spine. And if we were to do just as much spine work as we do ab work, we would probably injure our spine. All right. So we'll just do spine in small doses and we just do a little quick stretch. So this stretch is that C curve I was just talking about. So slouching is the opposite of spine extension, but a slouch is actually a very nice stretch. But you shouldn't be slouching or stretching all day, especially not for 4 or 8 hours at your desk, right? Okay, so we're back on our back. We're gonna do a roll up. So this is all about the abdominals here. I'm gonna start with my knees bent, and as I start to roll up, I might be able to roll all the way up without doing anything in my legs. But that looks just like a sit-up. But if you do find yourself getting stuck, you'll reach here. Let's say I got stuck right here. You're gonna kick your legs out. And that kick should just give you that little bump, which allows you to roll up. Now I want everyone, even if you kept your knees bent without the kick, to straighten your legs here and to stretch. Give yourself a nice stretch. Hamstrings, spine, everything. Just fold yourself up in half. And then the second phase of this workout is the lowering phase. So we're not going to just fall down quickly. We're actually going to inch our way down. Keep your heels heavy. And I want you to exhale. Inch by inch. And roll down. That's part of the exercise. The slow roll down, resisting gravity. All right, I'm going to bend my knees again. Inhale. Exhale, use your abs. Roll up, kick your legs out, dive forward. All that in one exhale. Now inhale, start to roll back. And exhale, ever so slowly, with control. We roll down. There's a lot to think about, but there's one more thing you got to think about besides breathing, and that's your shoulder position. We want to try to keep our shoulders relaxed. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, dive forward. So usually on the way up, we don't have any issues with the shoulders. But a lot of times as we're rolling down, you might find your shoulders just shrugging up toward your ears. So we really got to remind ourselves to keep those shoulders down away from the ears as we bring focus to our abdominals. It's very, very tempting to want to hold the breath, especially on the way down. So really remind yourself to keep that air going out of your mouth. This is the last one. You go for quality over quantity, so don't do too many. Inhale. Exhale. Stretch. Inhale. Shoulders relaxed away from the ears. Exhale. Heels stay down. Try to keep the legs nice and engaged and heavy on the floor. Good. Now hug your knees in. Find that tabletop again. Now, when your legs are just at tabletop, you'll feel some abs. But just take your hands on your thighs and then press into your legs. But don't let the legs, fall. So the legs have to resist the pressing. And so the legs are pushing this way and the hands are pressing that way. So create your own resistance. So I know it doesn't look like much, but I'm pushing into my thighs and my thighs don't want to move. And so immediately I feel more abdominal engagement, right? Hopefully you feel the same. So we're going to do that with one leg at a time. So this is going to be my moving leg, the leg that's in front. So I'm going to take my hands to both my back. By back, I mean the leg that's farther from you. I don't like to use right and left just because it doesn't matter which one it is that you're using, as long as we switch sides. From the leg that's farther from you, I'm pushing in and creating that tension. And my other leg, I'm going to tap. Repeatedly tap while there's that pressure going on. Now you can press as much as you want to in that leg. And if you don't want to press at all, you don't have to press at all. You can keep your hands down here on the floor. This is the no pressure version. Give me 2 more taps. With pressure, exhale, lower, inhale, lift. Exhale, lower, inhale, lift. All right, let's switch sides. I'm going to press the leg closer to you, and my back leg is going to move. Exhale, lower, inhale, lift. So we've done this toe tapping earlier, keeping the knees at 90 degrees, imprint. We're just changing it up a little bit with this isometric pressure, right? Like a plank. There's pressure and your muscles are engaged, but they're not moving anywhere. There's no movement. But you're getting really tired. Last one. Last tap. Good. We're going back to the first leg. So again, this is isometric contraction. There's work in the muscles, they're just not moving. So this is concentric, right? There's work in the muscles, but you're moving. The moving leg is concentric because the muscles are moving and they're working. So back to the front leg again. Do 6 taps, that's 3. Keep breathing, exhale, lower, inhale, lift. Maybe 2 more. Looking good. We're really trying to keep that 90-degree knee bend in both knees. Switch. Exhale, lower for 6. Keep alternating the breath. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So undoubtedly your quads and hip flexors are probably really tired. So a great stretch to do is your hip bridge. So anytime you lift the hips, you're extending the hip, and this hip flexor muscle right here, they're being stretched. All right. So I'm going to have you do a leg extension. If you feel more comfortable sticking with the hip raise, feel free to go up and down at your own pace. Now, I'm not going to articulate this time. So earlier in the warm-up, I intentionally lifted up inch by inch, and I roll down inch by inch. But now we're going to go up and down. The entire length of my spine stays strong and stable. I lift the whole thing up. I drop the whole thing back down. Okay, now we're going to add the leg extension. So go ahead and lift the hip. See where my knees are next to each other? My feet are hip distance apart, but I'm going to extend. Form that straight line. Bend and drop that butt. Lift. Extend the other leg. Now, I don't want you to extend it all the way up. I want you to try to keep the knees aligned with each other. And that's part of the challenge when your leg is on this diagonal. Feel free to try it out. The different angles. So let's say you lift the hip and you kick it up here. How does that feel different to you? Is it easier? Less work on the abs maybe, but you feel a nice hamstring stretch. So this is a lot of work on the abs. This is a little less work on the abs, but now my hamstrings are really getting stretched. And guess what? I'm working the hip flexor again. So as long as I keep the knees next to each other and extend the leg, I am working the quads, right? I extend the leg, but at least I'm keeping my hip flexor alignment. And that's kind of the main goal right now, which is the main reason I'm not having you kick your legs to the ceiling. Keep alternating the breath here. So you can exhale to lift, inhale to extend, exhale, bend, inhale, drop, exhale, lift. One more time on each side. Keep that butt squeezing so that your hips stay at the same height. There shouldn't be a drop just because your leg lifted off the floor, right? Both hips, same height. Nothing changes other than that leg extend. All right, good. We're going to move into your ab series. So go ahead and just hug your knees in for a quick moment for a little back release. Now, if you've done Pilates before, you've seen single leg stretch and all of our ab series exercises. If you want to add a little more challenge to today's exercises for the ab series, you can do what we did earlier, which is create that isometric press. So as your leg extends out, you're pressing. But the more typical single leg stretches, we just kind of hug our knees into our chest, okay? So feel free to do either version. If you want to keep your head, neck, and shoulders down, keep it down. Otherwise, you can roll it up. Inhale to switch, exhale, reach, single leg stretch. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. You can extend your leg as low as you like, maintain imprint, you can extend it higher. You can even flex the foot. I feel a really nice calf stretch when I flex that foot. So lots of variations for this particular exercise. So that isometric press, pressing as the leg comes in, that's just another option. Moving on to the second exercise of the ab series is our obliques. So taking the hands behind the head, everyone has neck support now as we rotate at the rib cage. The goal here is not to bring the elbows to the opposite knee. It is to bring the shoulder across the body towards the knee. Think shoulder to knee, not elbows. Keep those elbows nice and wide and try to keep the shoulder blades off the floor. So as I rotate this way, it's pretty easy for me to just place the shoulder blade down. But try your best to keep that shoulder blade up. So keep both shoulder blades up. One is higher than the other. Exhale to rotate. Inhale through midline. Exhale, rotate. Next exercise, double leg stretch. If your head needs a rest, take it back down. It's quite a challenging exercise because both legs are extending on the diagonal. Again, your choice of the diagonal. So even without my head and shoulder blades off the ground, I feel quite a challenge in my abs. Keeping that imprint. Feel free to try it with the head, neck, and shoulders up. If the head is up, the shoulder blades are up. They come up as one unit, head, neck, and shoulder blades. Okay, give me two more. Exhale, reach. Inhale, come in, and reach. Good. I'm just reaching my arms to the ears. So we've got our scissors. So we're going to try our best to keep our legs straight. Head and shoulder blades can be down or up. Exhale for the splits. Inhale to switch. Exhale, split. Inhale. Exhale. Really try to reach one leg up to the sky and the other leg away from your head. Both legs are constantly reaching. Go at your own pace. For 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. Okay. Hopefully your abs are pretty fatigued from the ab series. It's called the ab series because it killed your abs. All right, flip yourself over like a pancake. Oof. I did have pancakes the other day. All my bananas rotted, and I thought, I should do something with it. So I made banana pancakes. All right, we're gonna do some leg lifts this time with our spine work. So go ahead and stack your hands underneath your forehead. If you need to look, you can look real fast. First, I keep my legs apart, and I lift my legs nice and straight, really squeezing from the butt here. So I lift the entire leg off, like from the quads and everything. So to specify, I'm intentionally keeping my legs very straight because the exercise we're going to do right after this is intentionally with the knees bent. Okay, so first let's do the leg straightening, hip extension. Exhale to lift. Now try to keep the shoulders relaxed, right? There should be no tension in the shoulder area. You really should feel your butt engage a lot as you lift that leg. And keep your legs separated. Okay, so now take a little break. It's easier to flex the foot when I'm doing hamstring curls because I imagine that I'm putting a footprint on the ceiling. Don't worry about how high you lift your leg. It's not about that. It's about feeling it in your glutes, hamstrings, and into the lower back. Now, if this feels like it's too much for you, feel free to do it's a little more intense when you do the bent knee version because in general you can lift a little higher. But just listen to your body. Footprint to the ceiling, one at a time. Good. If you notice, I'm really not lifting my thigh and my knee off the ground that high. Good. Yeah, place your forehead on your hands so that your head and neck is aligned with the spine as you do this. All right, one more on each side. At any time that we're working on spine, though, if you need a break, you come out of it, you sit back on your heels, and you stretch the spine. All right, you don't need to wait for me to say it's stretch time. Again, like I said, you can always stop and take water breaks. I don't do any official water breaks. Just try to keep it moving. So stop and take breaks anytime. Oh, okay. Sorry, I meant to be here. So when we do our side lying leg lifts, it's to work on our outer thighs and a little bit inner thighs because those are muscles that attach to our pelvis and they help to stabilize the pelvis. If we don't have a stable pelvis, our spine that inserts into the pelvis won't be stable either. Use the edge of your mats to find a straight line. Okay, so use that. Make sure your arm is parallel to the edge, feet, legs, everything's parallel to that edge. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you don't want to be piked. And you especially don't want the arm forward like this, because that means your head will be forward when you lay here. This is your kickstand arm. I'd like you to lift it a little bit and feel a little unstable. If you feel unstable, it means you're in the right spot, right? You should be right on the side edge of your body. If you're leaning back on and resting on your butt cheek, that's the incorrect position. So one thing I'd like to do is just to lift my arm, feel a little wobbly, and then I know I'm in the right spot. Go ahead and put your arm down for the kickstand. You want both kneecaps to face forward so you know your legs are in a neutral position. If you can't really see my top leg's kneecap anymore, nor my pinky toe, that means I've externally rotated my top leg. You don't want to externally rotate any leg right now. So you should be able to see my pinky toes in both legs, which by default means you can see my kneecaps in both legs. And this is the basic sideline leg lift. I want you to reach that leg as far down as you can. So if you notice that I can like change sort of the length of my leg, I can do a hip hike. Try not to hike your hip. Hike your hip. Hike your hip. So push that hip down and reach that leg nice and long. Okay, now that we have set up our range of motion, which is parallel to lower hip height, we're going to find that parallel in hip height and make circles. 6 in each direction, very slow for 1. Inhale. Exhale for 2. Inhale for 3. Draw the abs in. Exhale for 4. 2 more. Very small, the size of a ping pong ball. Reverse direction. You should really be feeling your outer thigh right about now because you're keeping your leg at parallel. You're not letting it rest. You're concentrating a lot on this movement. Slow and small. Slow and small. Last one. Good. Lower the leg. Lift both legs. Bottom one, do a little bit more work. And you'll feel the inner thigh, the bottom leg, lift the top leg. Top leg's tired. So let it go along for the ride. Make sure your feet stay together and there is no external rotation. Okay, you should start to feel a little bit in the obliques here. Okay, now lift both legs as high as possible, which is about hip height, and then bring one leg forward and one leg back for the scissor. You don't have to do the splits. You do want to try to keep both legs off the ground. And you want to do it with control so you feel balanced, right? You don't want like one leg going so far forward that you tip forward, or one leg going so far back that you tip back. You want to be balanced. Okay, so before we go to the other side though, we're actually going to prop ourselves up on the elbow. Now you can do a side plank with your knees bent. So I've just sort of pulled my feet back and now my knees are bent. And you lift the hip. All right, so that's one option. Another option, make sure you get that elbow underneath the shoulder and don't sink into the elbow. The other option is to have the top leg bent. A third option is to have both legs straight, but I'm not going to do that. But if you have done it that way before and you like to do it that way, feel free. Exhale, lift. So maybe you go a little higher than neutral. Then you just work your obliques a little bit more. So this is about neutral, and I go just a little higher. You can also just come straight to neutral. Maybe 2 more. All right, we have one more exercise to do before we go to the other side. Hopefully your shoulders aren't too tired. We're going to stay on our elbows. We're going to do a crunch. So you can rest your legs or you can keep it hovering just above the floor. Now I am on my butt cheek. All right, so I am piped. If you want to touch your elbow to your knee, you can. You can even try touching the elbow to the bottom knee, but make sure it's actually you using your abdominals versus just moving your elbows, right? Like I'm really trying to bring my knee to my elbow versus my elbow down to my knee. Two more. Exhale, crunch. Inhale, extend. Great. Whew. Okay. We must do the other side. I'd say this whole workout is optional. It is. You know, great job for being here and choosing to do something that is really good for your posture, balance, core muscles, and everything. And I'd say you can skip any exercise you want, but I would say right now, if you did the first side, you probably want to do the second side. All right, so we're set up the same way as we did before. My kickstand hand. And make sure I'm straight along with the edge of my mat. I can't see my feet. If I could, it means my head is out of alignment with the rest of my body. I know it's very tempting to want to lift the leg higher than parallel or higher than hip. But the reason you don't is because you start to lose the gravity pull. And basically, it's less and less challenging the higher you get. So if I go this high, I don't actually feel any muscles working, but I feel a stretch. You want to always work sort of in the appropriate range of motion that really maximizes your muscle contraction. So now we're going to do our little leg circles, 6 in each direction. It's very small and it's very slow. Size of a ping pong ball. Reverse direction. Keep alternating your breath. Inhale for one small circle. Exhale for the next small circle. You'll find that if your bottom leg, if it's relaxed, it's harder to maintain balance. Like you'll feel very wobbly. So even though the bottom leg is resting on the floor, engage it. Squeeze the quads. Okay, top leg really wants to rest, at least mine does. So now we're going to let it rest and let the bottom leg do some work. Whenever we start to lift both legs, that's when we start to get into the obliques. So it's the top obliques doing the work here, but when we start doing side planks, it's the bottom obliques that do the work. Time for the scissors. Kind of looks like what we did when we were lying on our back, but don't feel a huge need to go into a super great range of motion. Slow and balanced, control. Both legs are off the ground, so you should be feeling these top obliques. Okay. So coming onto our elbows, you can have both knees bent, or you can have the bottom knee bent. You can also have both legs straight. I like to reach up when I do side planks to remind me to stay lifted out of my shoulder. You can come to neutral, pretty much a straight line, or a little bit beyond. But you should feel these obliques down here. Exhale, lift. Stay strong through that bottom shoulder. Constantly reach up with the top hand. 2 more. Good. All right. If your elbow needs a little break, sometimes it does, just come up off of it. Final exercise here. If you need to rest your legs. So before we start, you just want to pike a little bit. So here I'm on my side, here I'm on my butt cheek, just one butt cheek. And then crunch. So use your body to bring the elbows down, not your elbows moving in. Exhale, crunch. Side crunch. Your knees can separate if you need it to. And 3 more. Perfect. Okay. On to one of my favorite exercises, the teaser. So many variations of teasers. The one I like to do most starts with our legs at tabletop. This is really about getting to know your body. So as we start to roll up to start our teaser, we're all going to get stuck once our shoulder blades are up. So how quickly you kick your legs up so that you can use your abs to lift your torso, it's up to you. So the end goal is to extend the leg slowly enough so that you really feel your abs, and it's a nice low. All right. On the way down, we reverse it, extend, roll down, pull in. So if you're new to teasers, you may want to kick out a little faster. So you're here, kick quickly, and that kind of just like pulls you up. But you'll notice that the faster you kick out, the less abs you'll need to come up. So the end goal, again, is on the way up and on the way down. It's a slow, controlled motion. So this very much is like the roll-up we did earlier, except our legs are off the ground. So remember my knees were bent here and I kicked my leg out. Same thing. Inhale, get your shoulder blades up. Exhale, keep those legs off the ground. Inhale, we're not going to stretch because our feet are on the ground. We're going to reach our legs out, create that counterbalance so we can roll down with control. Inhale, exhale. If you want to keep your legs straight, you can. It's like this, and then you just roll down. Let's try 3 more at your own pace. This is very much, again, about getting in touch with your body. People have different leg lengths, different torso lengths. So as you start to lift your head, neck, and shoulders, when do you feel the need to extend the legs so you can smoothly roll up? Inhale, hold, exhale. Again, we're always breathing. It's very tempting to want to hold your breath, especially during this lowering phase. Make sure you're breathing. Last one. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Good. Whew. Teasers aren't easy. So we're on our hands and knees. So 2 ways of working your spine. One is to lay directly on your stomach. The other is to be on our hands and knees, wrists underneath shoulders, knees under the hips. If you have any wrist sensitivity, then you may want to lay on your stomach. But if you don't like to lay on your stomach or you're pregnant, then you would want to do it this way. Extend one leg, find that neutral spine. I have a nice long lengthened spine. I have wrists underneath my shoulders. So it's really important to be aligned with our joints. All right. So before I lifted my knee, it was right under my hip and my other knee is underneath the hip. So the knees are not touching. Okay, from here, we're going to do a hamstring curl. So look at my toes. They're pointed. I'm going to flex and try to kick my own butt with my heel. Extend. When you extend, don't just flick it out. Like really squeeze the quadricep. Squeeze that quadricep, the leg that's above, the muscle that's above the kneecap. Flex. Feel the hamstring. Point. Extend. Flex the foot and do the curl. Notice that my thigh isn't moving in space. It's just my knees bending. So there's a lot of endurance. My abdominals are tight. My lower back's engaged. My glute is engaged. All right, I didn't drop my knee, did I? No. I also didn't lift my knee either. Be careful about arching your back. So the goal isn't to lift the knee. And the reason is because it tends to force you to arch your back. And we don't actually want that. But draw the abs in. Keep that neutral spine. All right, let's switch. Done enough there. Other side. Point. Quads engaged. Flex. Alternate the breath here. It doesn't really matter whether you're exhaling for the extension or exhaling for the curl. They're both contractions in different directions, right? One is a hamstring contraction when you bend the knee, and then the other is a quadricep contraction when you straighten the leg. They are opposing muscle groups. As important as it is to work your abs and your lower back, which are opposing muscle groups, it's important to work your quads and your hamstrings. It's also important to work your chest and your back, upper back, everything opposition, biceps versus triceps. All right, good. Round the spine, give yourself a little stretch here. Arch your back, another little stretch. All right, we're not quite done yet. So when you do rolling like a ball, it can feel kind of like a spine massage, assuming you have a nice mat. But if you ever roll on like hardwood floor, it's not going to feel great. So before we get into that, first I want you to find a seated position with your feet hip distance apart. And we're just going to do our half roll back. because this is the muscle we really want to feel. As you go halfway back, don't shrug the shoulders, keep the shoulders down, relaxed. Stop about halfway down, really drawing your abs. Good, and inhale, sit back up. Now, normally I would say, let's try to straighten our spine, but we're gonna do rolling like a ball. So we actually wanna keep our spine in a C curve. So exhale, C curve, inhale, dive and roll over. Keep that roundness. Exhale to go back, feel the ab work. When you come forward and your spine is round, it just feels relaxing. It's your slouch. It's not work. It's not work because you're perfectly vertical and gravity isn't pulling you anywhere but down. So when you're here, gravity pulls your shoulders down, right? It's not great for your posture. But when you're back here, gravity's pulling you back this way. Now your abs have to do work. So this is an exercise. So now if we're rolling like a ball, remember this abdominals here. This is the exercise we want to work. This shoulder to knee, shoulder to knee, shoulder to knee. So go ahead and grab your ankles, lift it up. Keep that rounded spine. Roll only to the lower part of your shoulder blades. And then as soon as you fall back, think shoulder to knee. Fall back, shoulder to knee. Fall back, shoulder to knee. And every time you think shoulder to knee, you should feel that crunch. The crunch is what gets you back up. Find your balance. You want a little more challenge? Reach. Roll, shoulder to knee, pause. Shoulder to knee, crunch, pause. So show me that you have this control, right? That you didn't just get here and then you're actually already falling back. So I never say knee to shoulder because you don't want your knees to come in like this. You want to keep your knees where they are and then bring your shoulder to knee. Pause. Oh, you can pause here too. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Last one. Rolling ball is one of those exercises that look oddly simple and even partially pointless. But when done correctly, you can definitely feel your abdominals. All right, here's another quick little stretch. We're going to use gravity and let it stretch our inner thighs. So you can take your hands down here and support your legs so you don't accidentally do a bigger split than you want. If that's too much stretching for you, bend your knees. Yeah, this looks a little awkward. You might have seen Happy Baby in yoga before, but it's a really nice hip opener. We don't really do much in the straddle splits in Pilates, but doesn't mean that we don't need that stretch. So that's a great one to let gravity do its work for you, but you can also do it this way. So we're just going to wrap up. Pilates is a stretch and strengthen one. So as we're working on our muscles, we're also stretching at the same time. Like every time you squeeze your quadriceps, your hamstrings are being stretched, and vice versa. Now we're just kind of doing a rotational stretch, getting into the obliques, into that lower back, hamstrings, inner thighs. And really try to reach that opposite arm across. Whatever you can find, if this is enough of a stretch for you, stay right there. If you want a deeper stretch, just grab that ankle and bend into the elbow. When you bend into the elbow, you pull your chest down closer to your thighs, and that deepens the stretch. Doesn't matter if you can't reach your toes. I can't reach my toes. I reach what I can, but that doesn't mean I can't deepen the stretch from whatever I can grab. And if the stretch is deep enough for you without bending those elbows, don't bend the elbow. Thank you very much for joining me for Pilates. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Thank you so much.